where the moon lights.
An excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm your number one fan.
Hey up, my name is Scary Zara Mary. Welcome back to Rate Scary, and this is your weekly roundup of the latest horror news. So if you're new here, hit like and subscribe because you're going to want to stick around to keep up to date with everything that is going on in the world of horror. First up, some fantastic news, and one that I am really pleased about. Creep Tapes has been confirmed for a second season. Excellent news. Shudder has ordered 6 brand new episodes for the Creep Tapes Season 2. This is created by Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass, with Mark Duplass starring in the lead role. And it's set to premiere on Shudder and AMC Plus later this year, so we haven't even got that long to wait. And apparently this is going to continue to unravel the mind of this serial killer that we have seen through Creep 1, Creep 2 and the Creep Tapes, played by Mark Duplass, a character who lures videographers into his world with the promise of a paid job documenting his life. But as the tape rolls, we see that there are different intentions, and Mark Duplass is actually playing a serial killer, demonstrating increasingly odd, strange behaviour, and his victims learn that they might have made a slight mistake. Now, the first season did prove to be a massive hit for both AMC Plus and Shudder, as it premiered at the back end of last year. It's stated by AMC that this is their most watched Shudder program of all time and the strongest November release in all of Shudder history, which is absolutely phenomenal. It also drove a record number of subscribers during that time. Huge social media engagement. They did a fantastic job with the marketing campaign behind Creep Tapes. And I am so excited that this is going to return. Mark Duplass has even said in a statement that they made the first season of Creep Tapes completely independently. They were able to just truly do whatever they wanted and referred to it as getting their freak on. But the fact that so many people watched it means that Shudder has asked for more, but it means that they can also go even further this time around. And he said that's just really unsettling and terrifyingly exciting. And to add to this amazing news, we've also heard that Creep Tapes 1 is actually going to get a physical release, and it's going to come to DVD and Blu-ray in April. And you can bet I am absolutely going to be getting my hands on a copy of that. Next up, Hammer Horror have made an announcement. The legendary horror brand Hammer Films is making a huge return with a brand new slate of films under the ownership of John Gore, theatre producer. And he has a whole new team who are planning to celebrate and preserve the unmatched legacy of Hammer to usher in a new era of storytelling. And for the first time in 60 years, on that note, Hammer is unleashing a brand new movie monster called ITHAQUA. And they state that this film is about the fur trade, that it's in decline, and there is a remote outpost which is starving, and a mercenary fights to unite the survivors against the cold, the hunger, and something far worse. Now, I am particularly excited about this. I absolutely love Hammer Films. At the back end of last year, I was lucky enough to go to a select screening of Hammer Horror's documentary, which delves into their entire history. It was a fantastic evening. I had so much fun. And I mentioned this at every possible opportunity, but I got to meet Charles Dance because he narrated the entire show. And I am so excited to see what Hammer Horror are going to be doing next under John Gore. I think it's really exciting. They've taken on iconic monsters before, like Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy. They've had people like Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing who have solidified their names by starring in Hammer Horror films. So I think this is going to bring in a whole wave of new horror icons. I cannot wait. Today's update is just absolutely packed full of really good news, because while we're waiting to see if The Substance is going to pick up any Academy Awards, it did win awards at the Critics' Choice Awards last week. It was nominated in 7 categories and it took home 3 awards, which is just incredible news. It won in Best Actress for Demi Moore, Best Original Screenplay for Coralie Fargeau, Best Hair and Makeup, and while accepting the award for Best Actress, Demi Moore made a real point to shout out horror films that have been ignored at big award shows, which I think is very, very bold of her. And she said, "This is so far beyond anything I could have hoped for. I just want to say the very recognition, not just for me, but for what this film is about, what it's trying to convey. Your acknowledgement is almost like the elixir. It is the healing balm to the very issue the film brings forward. I am so grateful, not just for my performance, but that you have highlighted this film, this genre." And, you know, Demi Moore has also recently won a Golden Globe for her performance in The Substance. So I think it's putting her in a really, really good position, perhaps for her first Academy Award next month. So let's keep all of our fingers, toes, and claws crossed. Now, I did say I was bringing you all good news in this episode. Some of you might not think this is good news, but it has been confirmed that we are getting a remake of the classic Christmas slasher, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Now, if you're not familiar with the original, a little bit of a synopsis for you. Bearing the emotional scars of a young boy who has seen his mother and father brutally murdered by a savage killer in a Santa Claus costume, 18-year-old Billy explodes into a lethal frenzy. He's asked to put on a Santa Claus suit himself to entertain the customers of the department store where he works. And reminded of the tragic events that have marked his life, Billy embarks on a killing rampage that is as ghastly and controversial as anything ever seen on film. Now, we learned back in November that this is coming from Cineverse, which are the company that are behind the Terrifier franchise, with writer-director Mike P. Nelson at the helm. And it's also been reported that Sixth Dimension, which is a new in-house genre label at Studio Canal, has picked up the global rights to this project, which goes into production in a couple of months' time, with the aim of being released in theatres later this year. So this is absolutely fresh off the back of the huge success that was Terrifier 3, which was heavily inspired by Silent Night, Deadly Night. But are you glad to hear that it is getting a remake and it's heading towards production? Let me know in the comments. News about another new film now, Hokum. So this is a supernatural horror film that is coming from Oddity filmmaker Damien McCarthy, and it's set to go into production in Ireland later this month. Oddity and Damien McCarthy's other film, Caveat, are very loosely set in the same universe, and it's to be confirmed whether Hokum is going to join them. But we do have actor Adam Scott, who you may know from huge show at the moment, Severance, and also the film Krampus. And he is playing a horror novelist who visits a remote Irish inn to spread his parents' ashes, completely unaware that the place is rumoured to be haunted by a witch. Now, Stephen Schneider, one of the producers, stated that with Damien McCarthy's fresh and unique approach behind the camera and the amazing Adam Scott bringing his talent to the lead role, Hokum is shaping up to be something truly special. I am very excited for this. I love Caveat, very creepy. I found Oddity even creepier. It was one of my top films from last year. And I love a witch film, so I can't wait to see what Damien McCarthy does with this story. And then lastly, I have talked about this in a separate video, but announced at the start of the year, Robert Eggers is going to be following up Nosferatu with Werwulf for Focus Features, and it has a release date of Christmas Day in 2026. But he has since promised that Werewolf is shaping up to be the darkest horror film he's ever made. And I think that is really, really saying something. This is going to be set in the 13th century. It's been described as a medieval horror movie. So I did talk about that in my previous film, trying to guess which direction he was going to go in, because he is working alongside Sion, which is the writer that he worked with for Northman. So I guess that he was either going to go in a medieval direction or he was going to go in a kind of Viking direction. I'm pleased it's the medieval side of things. We're going to be getting typical 13th century language. So I'm expecting something quite similar to The Witch in that respect. And I just cannot wait to see what he does with the werewolf subgenre. I think there's been so many attempts recently. We had Wolfman at the start of the year. We've had Werewolves, which came from Signature Entertainment, and neither have really hit the mark for me personally. Like, I thought they were okay, but something that really delves into the origins of werewolves, I think is really, really exciting. I love a period piece. I love anything that is kind of set around the witch, like the Salem witch trials, and that's what this looks set to be. So bring it on. I cannot wait. I'm sure the UK won't get a Christmas Day release like we didn't get for Nosferatu, but believe me, I will be seated on the day that it releases. So there is your weekly horror roundup. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, if you are new here, hit like and subscribe. I'd love you to stick around and stay up to date with the latest news. But for now, sithee with you sen. I'll see thee soon.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
I'll be right back.
Game over. It's all for you.
Beware the moonlights.
An excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm your number one fan.